entire. You know what's funny, by the way?
Jokes.
No, the fact that when you anything on Fox News, like what the hell was it?
Whatever it was, folks don't take it seriously.
No, it was a it's like a terrorist attack or something like that, and Fox News was covering it. And there it is, the cop that shot the kid in Maryland.
Yeah,
that was all over Fox News. Couldn't find it on CNN.
Yeah, because it was a good guy with a gun. That ruins.
I mean, that
ruins the narrative, sir.
By the way, I've looked at Stormy Daniels, just about all of her porns, and she wears a rubber in just about all of them. Why is that? She has guys wear rubber. Stormy Daniels.
I haven't looked at any of them.
Well, I was researching for our show this week, but I thought it was going in a different direction, so I was watching that.
Yeah. Well, Stormy Daniels, a lot of the stuff that the first time around when she was making a stink before she decided that she was going to say that nothing happened, a lot of the things that she would say, she would say, "Check me out on my social media." Fucking whore. I don't know. As far as Trump and what he did 12 years ago, he was a fucking billionaire playboy. He cheated on 3 wives and divorced them and married new wives. Nobody thinks that he's an altar boy. I don't.
They want him to be, though.
Well, no, I don't. I think that the left expects the right to want him to be.
I think the right wants him to be.
I think the right kind of wants him to be, but they know that he's not. And I think that they're fine with that. Because as long as he's...
I mean, not the far right.
Well, as long as he's doing fairly good policy stuff, I don't think his base is going to leave him.
Well, here's the problem, though. He doesn't really have that base. It's all about the base,
Oh, please don't.
There's plenty of people that are always Trump. They're I stand by Trump 100%, blah 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 blah. And I don't know.
Fuck.
Lemmings.
That ain't me. I
know that, though, but my point is, when he was elected for 2 primary reasons. Number one, he has his own fucking money.
Yeah.
So he wasn't beholden to any of the old established Republican fundraising things that got other people elected, like George Bush.
Yeah.
And number 2, he basically ignited a fire with old angry white guys to catapult him to the White House. Again, it's no different than what Reagan did. I mean, if you look at what the Republican Party was doing, yes, they're talking about your basic conservative, blah, 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 guns, blah, 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 taxes, blah, 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 small government. But at the same time, they are placating immigration. They're trying to get Mexicans the right to vote. I just saw that's.
Is that Stormy?
That comes from my brother.
Hey, I'm your brother too. Damn it! I'm your brother too. God damn it!
Nice tits. So I don't even remember what the hell I was talking about.
You were talking about Republicans and taxes and guns.
I don't know, but look, he's wearing a rubber.
See, I don't like porn where the dude wears a rubber. I don't wear a rubber.
I'm telling you, I have not found one where that isn't the case. So what exactly does that mean? Is she that tore up?
Could be.
Or she's got something they won't let her spread.
She got arrested for assaulting her man friend. She's got a rap sheet for domestic abuse against her feller.
Oh shit! All right, so there's my thought. All right, so back to my thought. So the Republican Party was not. They were doing kind of the same business as usual bullshit, and I think they were forgetting who their base was, which is older, angry white guys.
And
that's why he won.
Oh,
and so now they have no fucking choice. They gotta. I mean, he's the winner. He's the president. So now if he were smarter, he could basically kind of retool the Republican Party into what Reagan had it be, because they've kind of lost their way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But
he didn't do any conservatives any favors with this signing of the omnibus bill.
No,
yeah.
But he's also practical, and realizes that he's already taken a huge beating politically. He cannot delay at all government. He can't have another shutdown.
Right? Doesn't this stuff expire or come up for a vote again just before the midterms? Like, isn't this just like 6 months?
Yes.
Now, I did see one thing that I thought was kind of funny, and it's an interesting hypothesis or theory, however you want to put it. I don't know, hypothesis, theory. But the omnibus has $700 billion. Half of this $1.3 trillion is for military spending, and that is $80 billion more than was expected to be there for military spending. And one of the things that I read was that that extra $80 billion could go to the Army Corps of Engineers to build the wall. Thoughts on that?
No, not really. Hey, here's a picture of Representative John Lewis in the March for Our Lives. All right, so here's a stat for you. 2017, the city of Chicago had 650 murders.
Yeah, that's like 2 a day.
It's down.
Rifles.
It's down from 771
because they let people start carrying.
No, actually, you can't carry in Chicago.
I thought they changed that.
That's mostly focused on the south side, though, correct?
I don't know. But 2016 was the deadliest year in 20 years in Chicago. It was 762 murders, 3,500 shooting incidents, and 4,300 shooting victims. I wonder if they were marching about gun violence in Chicago.
No, I saw something. They didn't have a March for Our Lives in Chicago.
Probably afraid they're going to get shot.
Right. Let me look that up.
Motherfuckers.
Let me look it up to be sure.
So this is all. I swear to God, if we turn into France.
Oh no, it did. There was
that ain't
one.
gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen.
During a march in New York City, people displayed portraits of children who were killed in the 2012 school shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. I wonder if they put pictures of kids on who were butt fucked by pedophiles in New York.
New York.
Let's not make this religious.
New York has gotten relatively safe.
I'm not talking about the Catholic priests. I'm talking about regular pedophiles, not the ordained pedophiles. Yep, I said that on YouTube too.
I thought that was the majority of the pedophiles.
No. What, the regular pedophiles or the ordained pedophiles?
Ordained.
Well, you could be an ordained pedophile, but usually we're talking about, Miley Cyrus is getting into it. Never again will I sleep with a... The ordained pedophiles are the ones, Pope Touch a Boy, Cardinal Diddle a Bean.
Now, Cardinal Flick a Bean.
Yep, Cardinal Flick a Bean.
Holy Ramadan Shlabalana, Cardinal Flick a Bean.
Father put it in his ass.
Now, what's interesting to me is that the school shootings are getting so much coverage now, while at the same time, shootings in general are at their lowest in the last 20 or 30 years.
Hey, here's a couple of kids. Arms are for hugging. I'm sorry, keep going.
No, it's just the basic fact that gun violence in general is lower than it has been in like 30 years, but it's getting so much press because it's a big, sexy story that gets a lot of attention.
Because it's kids, it's schools, it's a different story.
Right. But the chance of winning a lottery is like 1 in 200 and something million. Where's that number? Anyway, it was like the chance of hitting the lotto is 1 in 200 and something million, and the chance of getting shot in school is 1 in 600 and something million. But because it's such a big topic, it's a big deal.
Well, it goes back to our statue conversation. It's 3 people making a bunch of fucking noise, and something has to be done about it. I mean, I realize that this is a larger scale than that, but it's still the minority making a bunch of fucking noise, and we're going to end up doing something about it. Whether it's banning AR-15s, which has nothing to do with the cause of these shootings, or they're going to try to take all weapons or register weapons or whatever the fuck they're going to try to do. But they're going to do something.
Rifles are responsible for between 3 and 4% of all gun deaths. But the AR-15, which is a rifle,
is a percentage of that.
Yeah. But it's the ugly, dirty one that folks don't want.
That's
and
exactly right.
It's the same conversation that we've had. It's the same conversation that everyone has had, because what is going on is the fact that this rifle, which is a caliber designed for shooting varmints, go shoot a rabbit or something with this, it looks scary, so nobody wants it because it looks military style, because you can accessorize it.
Well, no, there's a lot of guys out there that do want it solely for that fact.
For shooting rabbits and such?
No, because it looks cool.
Oh yeah, no. That's been one of my points in several of the conversations that I've had. Is people buy it because it looks cool.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel military-like to use it.
Our military's been bitching about the 5.56 round forever, that it doesn't have enough power.
It doesn't.
We're shooting guys 2 and 3 times, and they're still fighting back. It's like, come on.
I watched a really cool video last night, and this guy, I want to try and find his channel so I can subscribe. But he was trying different guns on shooting through metal. He was like, so if you got a shovel, can you use that shovel to defend yourself, to block a shot? And he shot a shovel with a 22, and the most basic shovel that he had, the 22 went through. But then he got like an actual shovel. That shovel was for like gardening. It was really thin metal. The first shovel was a snow shovel. It was really thin aluminum, and the 22 went right through. But then he went to an actual shovel that's intended for digging. 22 wouldn't go through. 223 wouldn't go through. He got his 9mm went through, or no, the heavier shovel. I forget what the differences were, but the first 9mm that he shot didn't go through. But then he had another 9mm that was a lighter bullet with the same grain pushing it, and it did go through because it had better velocity, of course, because it was lighter. And he went through some 9mm rounds. He went through some other rounds from pistols, and then he had this really big, heavy shovel. And the 9mm wouldn't go through it. His other pistols wouldn't go through it. He had this, I don't know what this thing was. It was a fucking hand cannon, but it didn't go through. So then he went up to rifles, and the rifles didn't go through. So that particular shovel, you could really defend yourself with if you had it in your backpack or what have you.
So we just need to start giving students shovels?
Yeah, put a shovel in your backpack and run away.
By the way, there was the superintendent just came out and said that superintendent of Marjorie Mary Stoneman Douglas Jackson Brown Liberal High School.
Yeah.
And they're going to issue out clear backpacks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And yeah. Oh, yeah. What's his name? David Hogg, the leader of the March for Our Lives, the anti-gun group from there. The boy that you see everywhere, he is totally not about the clear backpacks because that's an infringement on the students' First
What
Amendment
is the
rights.
clear backpack supposed to accomplish?
Well, you can see if the kid's bringing a gun or something into school.
So a kid can't tuck a gun into his waistband?
No, you can't. No. It's a gun-free zone. There's no guns there. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, of course. Remember, like the old Haida Bibles where they cut out some pages and stick some shit in there? They can't do that to one of their fucking textbooks?
Yeah, I saw Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. A clear backpack is not going to do shit.
So there's so this march, this is just fucking stupid. See, they've completely now lost what the message should be, which is safer schools.
Yeah.
And they're making it about guns.
It's totally about guns. You know what? Let's.
But you're never gonna win that fucking argument.
Nope.
And what should be happening, improving in the safety of our schools, is not going to fucking happen, because now you got all these people talking about banning guns or limiting access to guns, and that's never going to fucking happen. So what the hell are you marching for?
Even if they limit them going forward, there are so many that will be grandfathered in that this country's armed for the next 400 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you take care of your gun, it's going to outlast you. No accidental gunshot, pun intended. So it's going to go down to your kids, your grandkids, what have you.
Oh, hey, David Hogg is spoke at one of the meetings.
What meetings?
He spoke at one of the marches in Washington.
Yeah, yeah. He was near the end. He threw up at the end of his. Okay, so he started. Let's go ahead and start the show.
We already have. Keep going.
But we didn't do an intro.
Oh, yeah, so record an intro and edit it in.
Yeah. We've already started the show. We're doing pretty good.
All right. Okay. So, yeah. So David Hogg, this guy, he starts his speech by putting up a price tag. And I couldn't see what the price tag was, but it was supposed to represent how much money Marco Rubio took from the NRA for the lives of every student in Florida. Okay? So he's starting it off. He's not talking about protection of kids. He's talking about the NRA. He's smashing politicians and going for gun control. He does his speech like 4.5 minutes or so. Ends his speech with, "I love you, God bless America," and he throws up I'm doing it here like you can see me, but he throws up a fist in the same, like just like a Nazi salute, except he doesn't have his hand flat out. He's just got a fist up. And this is the same kid that came up with his sister came up with the armbands. It was an armband to represent all the lives lost and stuff, and raise awareness for gun reform. And his cousin, what's his cousin's name? The girl with the shaved head, Emma Gonzalez. She gave her speech, and she didn't actually give a speech. She just stood there for 6 minutes and 20 seconds, which is how long the shooter was active in the school. So she stood there in silence for 6 minutes and 20 seconds, and she's wearing like like a military looking jacket, and on the sleeve, instead of the American flag, she's got the Cuban flag. And these kids, I think that for the most part their hearts are in the right place, but they're so misguided, and they're being led, I think, in the wrong direction.
I think you're absolutely right.
I think that what they want is less gun violence, but they're being told how to work toward that, and the way that they're being told to work toward that is just a complete disarmament of American citizenry. And like, there's a lot of websites and a lot of video clips that you can look, and folks, you can Google it or YouTube it, however you want to do it. but it's people that were like on the ground at these marches, and they would interview folks. What are you here for? We don't want military grade weapons in the hands of people. We don't want assault rifles. Okay, so what's this military grade weapon that you're talking about? What do you want banned? And this woman, the one video I'm thinking of, and she's like, "Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Do you not understand? Do you not read the papers? And then she said the AK-47." And some dude,
which our military will never use.
Yeah, and some dude in the background said the Second Amendment was written for muskets, and these folks are also.
And a lot of people refer to the AR-15 as the modern musket.
Yeah, they're also misguided though. The Second Amendment was written for whatever was the Second Amendment was written so that folks then could have the same weaponry as the military. Right? We can't even have that.
Not even close.
We can't have the same weaponry as the military. And a lot of people are all up in arms because, you can have this weapon and this weapon kills so many people. Well, my fucking weapon doesn't kill people.
Yep, that's right.
I can have a fucking Sherman tank in my driveway. If I don't kill somebody with it, it's just as safe as a puppy dog.
I went camping all week and I came home and none of my guns had killed anybody.
Right. Well, I expected that they would because they were not watched.
Yeah, well, one of them was an AR-15.
I thought you had two AR-15s.
Right. It should have killed tons of people.
It should have. That's what we expect because, of course, it's the gun. However, an interesting side note is that whenever a cop shoots someone, nobody ever blames the gun in that situation.
That's a good point. It's always the cop.
People.
That's the issue. People.
In Federalist paper number 46, James Madison, who's was a president and was a fairly significant individual,
makes really good pastries too, right?
He does. Madison wrote how a federal army could be kept in check by state militias. A standing army would be opposed by a militia, he argued, that state militias would be able to repel the danger of a federal army. It may well be doubted whether a militia thus circumstanced could ever be conquered by such a proportion of regular troops. He confidently contrasted the federal government of the United States to the European kingdoms, which he contemptuously described as afraid to trust the people with arms. He assured his fellow citizens that they need never fear their government because besides the advantage of being armed, which the American possess over the people of almost every other nation, the existence of subordinate governments to which the people are attached and by which the militia officers are appointed forms a barrier against the enterprises of ambition. So, according to Madison, who, by the way, what the hell did he do? Oh, yeah, wrote the fucking Constitution.
Oh, that guy.
That guy basically said that an armed citizenry is basically the best defense for their own individual freedoms.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
One of the things that people like to bring up is the very beginning of the Second Amendment that says a well-regulated militia being whatever it says, but it says a well-regulated militia. And people like to trot out the idea that, then the fucking guns are for the militia. Well, what the fathers, the people who penned the Constitution were considering a well-regulated militia was every man. Every able-bodied man was part of that militia. So every person now is part of that militia. So when the government goes and starts to do their own thing and it goes against the will of the people, then you and me and my neighbor down the street and somebody out in California who is drinking a soy latte and is growing man boobs, he is part of that militia. But people like to say, well, the militia, what they're talking about is basically like the what do you call the weekend warrior type military folks? It's the
Michigan militia?
Not the Michigan. Okay, the Michigan militia. But anyone that actually has that name ascribed, that moniker ascribed to their organization, that's what they're considering to be the militia. But that's not what the Founding Fathers intended. The Founding Fathers intended the well-regulated militia to be an organized group of regular citizens who are ready to fight for their rights. And not just the right to party. Yes, thank you. Mike D. Yeah. So during the March for Our Lives, thousands registered to vote. There were voting tables set up. At least 4,000 people registered to vote during the March for Our Lives protests. They were hoping for 25,000 people to register. But I bet all those folks who did registered Democrat and ready to block all guns. Anybody? What's your hot take on that?
No, I bet you're right.
I mean,
I bet they have no fucking idea what they're voting on.
Well, they don't. And I had a long conversation on Facebook with a gentleman who I respect greatly, but he has very little gun knowledge, and most people have very little gun knowledge, but they know what they're told, and if they're parents, they know that the safety of their children comes first. So combining what they're told with the concern for the safety of their children, what I'm told plus safety for my children equals no guns, or equals much fewer guns, or at least equals restrictions on semi-automatic guns or guns that look scary. And it drives me nuts that. So, kind of as a sidebar, people are of the opinion that if you don't have a vagina, you don't have ovaries, you don't have a womb, you can't be part of the conversation about whether or not abortion is legal. Those same people hate guns, but they want to say you can't have guns. I don't know shit about guns, but you can't have guns. Do you see, there's a double standard in almost all of the speak that involves infringing on someone's rights. Fewer than half of all Americans have guns. We've got a shitload of guns in this country, and most of the guns that we do have belong to about 3% of the 50% who do own guns. So about 6% of people own most of the guns in the country.
And all the people that want to take away all the guns are the ones that don't own them.
Mostly people who don't own guns, have never fired a weapon, who know little to nothing about a gun, who equate a semi-automatic with full automatic. It's like there was a video, fucking CNN put out this video, and they had this guy who was ex-military, and he was supposed to be demonstrating the AR-15. Did you guys see this video? It's so laughable. So he's at a gun range, and he's got the CNN guy there, and he's shooting the gun, and he's pulling the trigger. You know,
is this the guy that said he got PTSD from shooting the AR-15? No,
but it's the same network. This guy is shooting this AR, and he's shooting it, once a second, once 3/4 of a second, or whatever. And he said, and that's what this gun can do. And now I'm going to go full semi-auto. And so
full semi-auto.
Yeah, so he goes full semi-auto.
So he went full semi-retarded?
Yeah. So basically what he did...
No, you never go full retard.
Exactly.
That guy did.
Well, he totally did, because all he did was he just pulled the trigger a little faster. And then like they had the CNN guy do it, and the CNN guy is not holding the gun properly, and he's got it out away from his shoulder. So
find that video. Put that on the... Yeah, find that video.
Yeah, I'll look it up. All you got to do is Google full semi-auto. Full semi...
All right, I'll Google...
AUTO CNN. I'm doing it right now. Full semi-auto CNN.
CNN goes full semi-automatic.
Here's the segment. I'm just gonna put this is from Twitchy. Have you guys ever heard of Twitchy?
Nope.
It's an interesting. I mean, they compile things. They're kind of conservative in their stuff, but I'm putting the link in there right now. It's from Twitchy, but it's got the video.
Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. Oh, he's an Army guy. That explains it. Go Marines.
Go ahead. Continue.
Do they have a bump stock on it?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
From everybody that's ever owned a bump stock, they're ridiculously hard to use. Like, to make it actually function in the manner that it's intended to, very fast rate of fire, it's hard to get it to do that.
Also for what a bump stock is worth, you can do the same thing, as I understand, with a belt buckle or with your thumb. If you use your thumb and you don't let your thumb bend.
Yep. It's all about not having that rifle in your shoulder completely, and you're letting it kind of work its way back and forth against your finger.
Yeah, you just let it bounce.
And like Schwarzenegger in Commando?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
And if you're doing that, your accuracy is inherently shit.
Yeah. Well, that was part of the conversation that I had with this fellow on Facebook. So we were talking about Las Vegas came up, because I made the point that.
Well, he was shooting fish in a barrel.
Right. Well, okay. So I made the point that most only about 40% of mass shootings involve a rifle. Going back to 82, I think. But we were talking about, if you let the government whittle away at your Second Amendment rights, then your First Amendment rights are right behind. And he's a writer, so my point was, you've written some things that could be considered hate speech. And some people equate anything that they don't agree with actual physical violence toward them, which warrants them being violent back toward you. And so,
and how they're going to stop you? They're going to show up on your door with fucking guns.
Yeah. So have you guys heard about this fella, this Scottish guy, Count Dankula?
No, I'd remember a name like that.
Okay, well that's his Facebook.
I used to buy my weed from that guy in high school.
Not his Facebook. That's his YouTube channel, Count Dankula. He's a Scottish guy. He is what the internet calls a shit poster. Do you know what a shit poster is?
No.
A shit poster is someone who does or says things just to get a rise out of people. Okay? There's no.
That's everybody on social media.
Mostly, yeah, but
okay.
But
I thought that was the point of social media.
But there's no real malicious intent behind what they do. They just want to get a rise out of folks. So his girlfriend has a pug dog. He's in the UK. He's in Scotland. His girlfriend has a pug dog, cute little dog. He says, "What can I do to this cute little dog to make it something nasty that folks will hate?" So he teaches the dog to do a Nazi salute. Right? So he teaches the dog to do a Nazi salute when he says "Gas the Jews" or "Heil Hitler" or something like that.
Jesus Christ!
Right. But he's not hurting anyone. He's making a joke. He's making fun of people who actually feel that way. Right? Yeah. But he went to court over that, and he got sentenced in court of being grossly offensive. And he faces actual.
That's a criminal charge now.
He faces actual jail time for teaching the dog to do a Nazi salute. Now, in Canada, you can get actual jail time for using the wrong pronoun for someone who uses one of the 72 different pronouns for their supposed gender. That shit could just as easily come to America. If we let the government infringe on any of our constitutional rights, then they can infringe on any of them. So where I was going with this conversation was, okay, you've written some stuff that could be construed as that could eventually be against constitutional law. If we let folks take these guns, then they're infringing on our constitutional rights. And he says, yeah, but what I wrote didn't kill a bunch of people in Las Vegas. An assault rifle did. My point was, from this guy's vantage point, he had to use a rifle because he was so far away. He was shooting fish in a barrel, but for all the shots that he took, most of those shots missed people. He could have killed as many people with
a truck,
with a 270 or with some other rifle. Had he aimed and hit a particular person each time, he could have killed as many people.
But he wasn't trying to do that. He was just throwing lead, much lead as possible.
He was throwing lead and being scary in the process of killing people. So the point being, someone could have killed just as many folks with a hunting rifle had they aimed and shot. Might have even killed more had he aimed and shot. So banning the AR-15 because it's scary and because it can shoot fast. I can pull the trigger on my 9mm as fast as I can pull the trigger on an AR-15, as fast as I can pull the trigger on my son's .22. Any other semi-auto, you can pull the trigger just as fast. It's just a matter of how fast you can pull your fucking finger. You know,
right.
if you've had a lot of practice flicking the clit, then your finger moves faster and you can go faster with the shot. Well, yeah, you know, I'm just using that as an example because it's edgy, edgelord type. You know, kind of the same manner as the shit poster. But if you can move your fingers fast, playing guitar, playing piano, flicking the clit, whatever, then you can shoot a gun faster. But the faster you shoot the gun, the less accurate you are.
Unless you're Jerry fucking Muselik.
There are some really well-trained people who can fire off a bunch of shots and hit the target every time, yes. But that takes a lot of practice. And that goes to the same thing. We're limiting the capacity of a magazine. You know, just because I got a big magazine and I'm going to shoot a bunch of shots in rapid succession doesn't mean that I'm going to hit anything, because the faster I pull the trigger, the less likely I am to hit what I'm pointing at.
Correct.
But someone who is well-practiced can take that 10-shot mag out and put a new one in and only miss like one beat.
Yeah.
So the limitations, all the things that can be proposed, short of stripping everyone of their weaponry, just makes people feel good who don't know what they're talking about. That's my opinion on the situation.
I mean, even if they did try to ban semi-automatic weapons, are you going to come door to door and try to get them all? Because that's not going to go over well in Mississippi.
Yeah. There's 300 and something million semi-auto weapons in this country. We can't find 12 million illegal aliens and deport them.
Right.
How are we going to find all these weapons and get rid of them?
Yep, never happened.
No, it's not. It's not. But if you say that it's going to happen, that is good enough for a lot of these people, and they will feel warm and fuzzy and feel like they've done something to make the world a safer place. And folks like to point, we brought this up before, folks like to point toward Australia. And Australia, they had that one big shooting in 96, and then in a couple of weeks, they had this mass buyback, this compulsory buyback. I mean, you had to sell your weapon back or you were a criminal. And there's still a shitload of criminal weapons on the streets out there, by the way. But, you know, folks say that they haven't had a mass shooting since. Well, they didn't have a lot of mass shootings beforehand. Australia is a mostly homogenous society, which has at least some to do with it. And they didn't have a lot of shootings beforehand, so they didn't have anything to really base that on. You can say, well, there hadn't been another shooting since. Well, there could be one tomorrow. It didn't have a considerable impact on anything there, because gun violence in general, any kind of violence in general, was already trending downward. New Zealand, which is right there with Australia, did not have the compulsory buyback, and their numbers have trended downward just exactly the same as Australia's have. And the people who did actual studies on the gun buyback and the ban in Australia have said that it had little to no effect on things, because there just wasn't enough data and there's not enough there. The same as the assault weapon ban that was in the United States. It did little to nothing to change the number of shootings, of mass shootings, of anything. The peak of mass shootings in America was in the mid to late 90s. I forget the exact year. But the number has trailed off ever since. And we're at a lower point now than we have been in decades. And I said that before, but it bears repeating. But because we've got, partly because of the 24-hour news cycle, partly because of social media, partly because it's a big, sexy story, partly because recently 14 students and 3 staff members were killed in Parkland, Florida. All these things go to make a giant conversation currently about gun control, about making schools safer, and about about guns in general. But we overlook what happened in Texas, where the guy was in the church and he killed all the people, and a fella who also happened to be an NRA trained shooter, who was an NRA instructor, came out with his AR and he killed the shooter. We ignore what happened in Virginia, where the student came in, he killed his ex-girlfriend, he killed somebody, or he shot somebody else, didn't kill them, but in right around a minute was taken out by the school resource officer.
Was that Maryland or Virginia?
It was Maryland. I apologize. I got the wrong state.
Okay.
The point being that shitty people are going to do shitty things, and we have to have good people on hand to take care of the shitty people when that happens. That's my opinion.
Hear, hear.
Harumph.
Did you just harumph for Trump?
No, harumph.
No.
Harumph for Trump.
Give them a harumph.
Give the governor a harumph.
Harumph.
All right.
Better watch your ass.
Hello, boys. How you been?
We should end it on that because that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And my whiskey's almost gone.